We're trying to implement marketing framework called TAYA, T-A-Y-A, They Ask, You Answer at Mavlers. That framework is all about you handling all the objections on and possible questions of your prospects.
People are using AI where, let's say, a machine's reversing. They've got these sort of AI scanners around the machine, and if someone walks in that scanner, the machine stops and the alarm goes off. So this AI is massively enhancing safety on site.
A term, they call it now, it's a revenue team. It's not like a sales team and a marketing team, which one generates interest and second just bring conversion. It's like both working together, considered as a revenue team.
We've done it like this for 20 years and it works. Why do we change now? But often, as we see, that can be the most dangerous saying that any business owner can do. I think what we should be looking at is always looking to futurize our businesses.
First of all, thanks for being here. Really appreciate your time and your heart and soul of Telfer Digital. Amazing to see you focusing on such a niche vertical, supporting a lot of construction and environmental businesses to grow in London, UK. Amazing to see you are passionate about, how passionate you are about specifically bringing growth and helping businesses for that digital journey, because not many businesses or not many agencies who focus on this segment. And that's what I was really excited about it when I first get to know about this, that haven't seen many businesses specifically focusing on built and environment sector. So welcome on board and great to have you, Fred.
Thank you very much. No, thanks for having me. It's and yeah, you're right. It's definitely a niche industry to go into, but an industry which is so important, and it really requires sort of the knowledge and expertise to sort of keep it sort of moving forward, especially in the digital world.
Yeah, and I saw you, Fred. You also recently rebranded. What was the purpose behind that? Would be love to know that.
Yeah, absolutely. So so we actually launched our rebrand on Monday, which has been amazing. We got going, we started out just short of 2 years ago, and I had these customers who were sort of wanting to get going straight away. And so as sort of a starter, what we basically did, we got this sort of Telfer Digital brand up there and sort of available to sort of start operating straight away. And it was one of those scenarios where we had to get it done quickly and as sort of efficiently as possible. And so we didn't sort of get the chance to spend a huge amount of time actually thinking on our brand. It was more about let's get as much together as possible so we can start helping our customers. And that's basically what we did. And so after now 2 years, we've now fully rebranded and really focused seriously hard on our new brand, so we can really appeal to all businesses within the built environment sector. And so we really tailored it around that.
No, amazing. And I remember our conversation from a few months back that it's amazing. It's good that because you have that legacy, you have that visibility in the industry with your own presence and spending all these years in the industry. A brand to go with your name is the perfect way to get started, right? So amazing to see.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Yep. Okay, great. So Fred, let me deep dive into a little bit specifics to digital marketing and the opportunity you see, how digital marketing can help construction and environmental industry, right? So someone who's deeply invested into revolutionizing the machinery and construction industry through digital strategies, what do you see as the biggest marketing challenges the construction industry face today? And how do you see digital marketing and can help overcome those problems or challenges?
I think the biggest sort of challenges in machinery construction effectively is actually just getting started. Businesses in machinery and construction, they've got such fantastic businesses and they reach out to these most amazing projects. And in fact, it's always been sort of about the site. It's always been about the machinery. And it's only sort of recently come into, relatively recently come into the fact that digital is an incredibly important part of those businesses. And so I guess the biggest challenge is actually, to people sort of running these businesses is where do we start? And effectively sort of how we've basically done this is put together, a trial and tested and proven strategy into how we can actually get these sort of businesses going, and really how they can then start making a big difference digitally.
No, like us dealing with a lot of B2B, B2C businesses, and us working with a lot of agencies globally, we always realize that working with B2B segment or businesses who focuses on B2B, that's always requires very custom approach when it comes to digital marketing or generating interest from digital channels.
Yeah.
Beyond that, those challenges and hurdles with B2B, when we go to B2B into construction and environmental space, I can imagine it's gonna be a bigger roadblocks you're gonna face, I'm sure you'd be facing. So would love to know, how is that shift? How are you managing that shift and transition of a mindset of your customers? Because I can imagine traditionally it would be a lot to do with word of mouth. It would have to be a lot to do with referrals and other channels, offline channels, versus now leveraging digital marketing. How have you been managing bringing that impact to these businesses?
So, I mean, you've got that incredibly correct. It's has been in the past, and traditionally, word of mouth and really knowing people within the industry specifically. And there's sort of come a point where there are, the construction industry, an incredibly active industry. There is jobs everywhere, from house building projects to anything over to quarry jobs, waste and recycling, all that kind of stuff. And it's really giving, I guess, the new businesses coming in, how are they going to start to properly involved with these big projects? How are they going to start sort of getting stuck in and with getting some great projects under their belt? And what we realize is actually it's been a major strategy and a major step really has been digitizing. And so what we've basically done is help to bring on these businesses into getting these new projects and getting their name out there. You've got some massive construction business players out there who have been operating for hundreds of years. Getting these new players on board is so important. So that's sort of how we focused. And it really is in the construction industry, machinery especially, what we sort of learned is transparency is everything. Being transparent to your audience is so important, and actually getting your audience to engage in what you're doing. People are completely fascinated by what actually goes on in a construction site. And most of the time, if you're a business specializing in tech, for example, the likelihood is you're not really going to be able to see sort of what actually goes on. The built environment sector really is sort of like a core foundation of the world. Your office, you're sat in, that's had construction. So it's understanding the process from start to finish, and the way how we sort of effectively, like you're saying, get these companies to enhance the digital strategy and sort of get on board with that, rather than just the word of mouth, is opening up to their customers and sort of showing people what they can do and showing people what they do. And that's sort of how we've come in, and that's how we've sort of made our big approach into the industry.
Very interesting, Fred. And the way I have seen even the digital space has evolved these days, or over last few years, where it's not like those early days where it's only about lead generation and creating those lead magnets, right? I think we have seen a bigger shift about building that brand, creating that authority in the space, having those social signals becoming very important as well. A lot of businesses which are very tech focused these days also talks about omni-channel marketing and creating that consolidated view of their user journey, because businesses struggle to attribute what is my first touch or where the customer has entered, right? With all these changes, what we have gone through and still going through in the digital space, especially for construction and environmental industry, balancing that online and offline, right? How do you see that landscape is evolving, and how do you see it would evolve in next 5 years? Because I'm sure while you are going with that emphasis to bring that digital presence, still those offline elements, those social elements of trust, authority, credibility would be playing a very crucial role in a buying cycle, because it's not about just generating interest, right? It's about making that transaction or making that engagement to start. How do you see that shaping up in next 5 years?
Absolutely. Yeah, really interesting question. And this really, this is all about in-person teams and digital teams. And this is sort of what we commonly see with sort of construction, is that because it's introducing the new way digital is, can somewhat be, not taken at sort of a big interest to start off. And the way which we're seeing it sort of evolve is getting the sort of sales teams and in-person teams to work alongside the digital teams. And I think what's really important is that each team shouldn't be sort of looking like one's going to take over the other. Both teams should be working together. And so the way I sort of see it evolving is the person communication, as it always has been, is still just as important as the digital side. And the way how I see it evolving is that digital teams really need to work alongside sales teams. Effectively, the digital teams can bring in some interest of people that they might not have dealt with before, but the guys who hold the relationships are always the ones that sort of bring in the full conversion. So it's really working alongside each other and making and understanding your customer journey of sort of what can really help people to see my business, what can help them to inquire, and how easy is it to pick up the phone. So you're using that digital sort of outgoing to bring people to your business or bring people to your website, but then to pick up the phone and there's someone on the end of the phone, that is just as important. And so it's using both the in-person teams and the digital alongside each other. That's how I see it working.
Yeah, no, very true, very true. So I've been hearing more often a term, they call it now it's a revenue team, right? So now it's not like a sales team and a marketing team, which one generates interest and second just bring conversion. It's like both working together, considered as a revenue team, helping business to generate revenue, retain revenue, right, and grow that revenue. Very
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this purely goes back to the thought of both teams. Both teams are trying to achieve the same thing, and to achieve that and in the best way possible, working together as like you said, a revenue team really is the way forward. And it can sort of be a point of sales teams might go, no, we don't need digital marketing because we can do it all ourselves. And digital teams might say the same. We don't need sales teams, so we can do it all ourselves. And neither of those are true. They both need each other just as much. So that's sort of where that is.
Yeah, true. Okay, great. Fred, before you kind of started with your own entrepreneur journey, you have had a long sprint with Walting JCB, right? I believe you have spent close to 8 years there. Would love to know that why do you believe having a strong brand, well-optimized website is crucial, even in this vertical or an industry, to generate leads and establish credibility? Like why website is so important?
Absolutely. I mean, ultimately, your website's the first thing which people see. So 99% of the time, what will happen now is a user will visit your website before they call you. If your website's not established, then that can speak a lot about your brand, in the fact that they might have, if your website's established and your digital presence is good, then you've automatically got more trust from your potential customers. So, and what we've sort of learned is along sort of the way is, and from my time at Watling, where I was sort of trial and testing everything, sort of see what would work and what wouldn't, in terms of inquiries, in terms of customer support, in terms of part sales. It all comes down to transparency and having a strong brand behind you digitally. If you can have the confidence to share your brand wherever you go, then like it is, your customers are always going to have confidence in you.
Oh, very interesting. Yep. Can you help us with maybe one or two examples of what has worked for you, or what sort of campaign or what sort of strategies have worked significantly in your favor to boost your sales or overall credibility via your digital channels or efforts?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so I think there's a few different strategies, but if we just go down the machine sales route, for example, product information is the most important thing. If you can, most of the time your customer knows what they're looking for, and or knows sort of whereabouts and sort of what they want to look for. So if they're looking for example, backhoe loaders, they can, if they can then visit every single product model on your site, and if they've got full descriptive information as well as specification sheets, videos, they have more of an idea before they actually call you than they did before. So they, rather than sort of the process of being, you know, phone call, I'm not really sure what I need, but can you help? It can massively, you know, the conversion rate massively increases because they understand what they need. They know from straight away what's going to benefit them, what's going to benefit their business or benefit their job. So effectively, transparency in terms of machine product listings is incredibly important. You know, a lot of what businesses are doing within the industry now is actually allowing people to reserve machines online. And so the likelihood of someone purchasing, you know, a backhoe loader outright online is very slim because it's obviously such a big ticket price. But the likelihood of them reserving is incredibly likely, and it's similar to sort of the car, you know, the car models now. If you're going to buy a car, you can what most of the time what you can do is actually reserve that car online, and so that again is massively important. It plays a huge role. And further on from that, what we've also seen is most of the machinery companies will offer, you know, finance in terms of hire purchase or maybe some lease options. What has sort of seemed to be more of sort of a trend now is these machinery companies are actually starting to embed finance calculators on their website, so people can sort of tailor what package, what sort of package deal they want to go ahead with straight away. You know, whether that be a 36-month hire purchase with a 10% deposit, they actually know exactly how much that's going to cost them before they call you. So giving them the ability to get that whole idea straight is massively important. To give you a bit of an insight, what we sort of see is across machinery businesses who sort of have these features, you know, product listings, full product details, spec sheets, videos, finance calculators, the average sort of conversion rate has sort of gone up by about 126%.
Wow.
Yeah. And so it's massive. It really is huge. And so that's my biggest sort of piece of advice is transparency for your users. Allow them to view as much detail as possible.
And how have you been managing that mindset shift, right? Because I can imagine change is the constant thing, only constant thing we all know, right? But at the same time, it's the most difficult thing to adopt, and especially for businesses who has been seeing certain way of operating and that mode of operations working very effectively for them for years. Changing that, I'm sure it's gonna be big of a hustle. So would love to know, like, amazing to hear about these calculators, these videos, the overall blog and content assets. But how do you get them into a zone of creating these on a regular basis? If you have your tips there.
I think literally goes into a mode of give it a go, and the give it a go. It's trial and tested. It's proven it works. It can always be a bit of a we've done it like this for 20 years and it works. Why do we change now? But often, you know, as we see, that can be the most dangerous saying that any business owner can do is we've done this and we don't need to change it. I think what we should be looking at is always looking to futurize our businesses, and that is really the way of doing it. And, you know, giving it a go. How can it work? I mean, ultimately, giving more information and the ability for your customers to sort of look at these, or, you know, or operate sort of through finance calculators and stuff. It's not gonna damage your reputation. The only thing it's going to do is basically improve your customers' UX UI. So it's massively important. And so effectively getting over that barrier of, no, we've done it like this for a while, we don't want to change, is really important. And it's at some point your business is going to have to go to this futuristic stage. So you might as well get going ahead now rather than wait for 5-10 years where you could sort of be left behind in other sort of competitors' wakes.
Very interesting. And because these product purchases are expensive at times, may require finance as well, I'm sure, if I'm not wrong, that the buying cycle or the conversion cycle is going to be pretty long. How does content pieces helps to increase credibility and move that buying funnel further down? Because one is to generate interest, getting an inquiry, and then from inquiry to conversion, I'm sure they're going to be longer cycle. And how does all the content, videos, calculators, blogs are helping to improvise this conversion funnel?
Yeah, massively. And I think this actually goes back to this. So the how we've always done it phase of, let's say, not having a digital sort of the transformation, is the fact that your conversion cycle it's always going to be slower, because what you're giving with these videos and these finance calculators and this transparency on the page is you're giving your customer as much detail as possible up front. So in fact, they know a huge amount more about the machine already if they were just to call you up without any idea. The transaction process will be a lot longer. And with machines, as machinery businesses know, machinery tenders can go on for months, whereas it can bring that down considerably if your customer knows exactly what they're looking for straight away.
Yeah, very interesting. That reminds me of, we're trying to implement a marketing framework called TAYA, T-A-Y-A, They Ask, You Answer, at Mavlers. And that framework is all about you handling all the objections on and possible questions of your prospects, of your customers, ahead of the time. Because there was an interesting study done where the stats was indicating that 80% of customers have made their decision before even they speak to a human. So, and in these days, that entire education process of your buying decision is done before even you are speaking to the human over a call. So I can imagine the importance of all these content you are suggesting, right? How much impact they would be able to bring in the buying cycle before even they speak to a salesperson.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, I find one of the most interesting things is what I think the car industry do so well. They have build your car. So you've chosen that you're having tinted windows. You've chosen that you're having Apple CarPlay. You've chosen that you're having a particular set of tires. Once you've chosen that, the likelihood is you're 95% already there to buying it. So ultimately, giving that transparency is just so crucial, and I think there's a lot to be learned from the car industry. They're very advanced, and they are always, and it's massively competitive. So allowing that information there so people can actually do all the good stuff themselves and get excited. It's an exciting thing buying something, whether it's personally, whether it's for your business. It's always an exciting sort of part is buying something new and sort of buying something which is going to help your business grow. So why not make it interesting?
Yeah, no, true. And in today's world where all of us spends good amount of time on social media, right? How do you see the social media platform has evolved, especially in this segment for construction and environmental space, and how effectively you are able to leverage those social media platforms to increase your customer engagement and have more visibility?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, super crucial. Ideally, I mean, what I always say is construction businesses, machinery businesses, they should be posting daily. If that's on, client testimonials, case studies, new machines that you have in stock, show people are interested to sort of see what you've got. And again, it goes back to this car world. People are so interested in cars. The same thing happens with machines and construction. People are massively interested. So what your social media platforms gives you is the ability to keep your audience, sort of keep your audience interested all the time, and they can sort of keep a log of sort of what you guys are doing and see your progress as a business. So an example, we do a lot of work for plant hire companies, and what these plant hire companies basically do is they have machines in stock and they rent them out to customers. So that's ground workers to quarry sites, waste and recycling. And with what we found with social media and plant hire companies, that if you're actually showcasing the spec of your machines, if you're showcasing what you guys can do, whether you guys can offer operated plant hire, if you can offer, non-operated plant hire, this is really important to your audience, and it gives, again, you're educating your audience and sort of what your business can do, and sort of the scalability of what you can sort of get to. So your social media platforms is just as important as your website. It all ties in together. Again, transparency. I know I keep going on about it, but it really is. That's how important it is.
Yeah, that's true. Like when we talk about changing the world from in-person physical conversation to digital conversation, right? I totally hear you that transparency plays a very crucial role. How do we make things real? Like how do we make that experience as real as possible?
Absolutely. And a thing which has started working really well, you'll see on social media all the time, people are sort of explaining their day in the life. We're actually just doing a piece of work at the moment for a day in the life of a service engineer, which is really cool. So a service engineer, basically what they do is they go out to machines which require services. If a machine has a breakdown, they go out, and it's telling their day to day or sort of what goes on. And so your audience in that sort of industry are massively interested, and actually it's incredibly helpful for careers as well, because it entices people into sort of thinking, actually, I really want to do that job, and what can I expect from that? And so that's sort of
Great. Fred, help me understand with the ever-changing technology world, all right? And like 4 out of 10 times when we talk about technology these days, AI comes into conversation. But keeping AI, AR, VR, all those new advancements and innovations happening in overall technology space, how do you see they're gonna help contribute to the growth of, again, construction and environmental machinery space?
Yeah, absolutely. So start off with AI. I think AI is so important, and AI is not going anywhere. Let's just get that. I think so. What can be the immediate thought is, I don't want to use it because we don't need to use it. Our business, we've run our business for 45 years, and we've never used it or something. AI is not going anywhere. So befriend it, work with it. How can you make your business better? How can you make it more efficient? There are ways which machinery sort of companies, tech companies are doing work with it, which is really cool. Machine safety, for example, is a really, really big point within the industry, and safety of your employees, safety of the workforce is massively important. So people are using AI where if let's say a machine's reversing, they've got these sort of AI scanners around the machine, and if someone walks in that scanner, the machine stops and the alarm goes off. So this AI is massively enhancing safety on site, and so that is, for me, that is an unbelievable piece of tech, and I would really take that as something which, if you can, companies should do. It's really, really important. And so so things like that really enhance it, take it in. I think it's really great. It's also being used for precision. If you're doing sort of a housing job, and you're sort of having to dig out specific dimensions, using the AI technology to get yourself really accurate trenches or whatever is massively important. You're then pretty much removing any risk of or a lot of risk of
Interesting. And do you see anything to do with AR, VR can be leveraged for this industry for making the buying cycle or buying journey or experience of the user better?
I think AR is amazing. I think it's really cool, and in fact, lots of manufacturing companies are actually using AR when they're designing prototypes. So effectively, what they can do is the design team will sort of almost wear these headsets where they can sort of see the machine through their headsets, but the machine's not actually there. So they can sort of see how good the design is, what they can improve. And so I think AR in future, the buying cycle, it can absolutely be there. I mean, I think it's an incredible thought. Is if build in the functionality somehow through headsets or whatever, so people can actually almost do a full look around of machines from the word go. Again, it's bringing out that transparency of what actually they can see and operate, and sort of how the machine looks. And so, yeah, AR I think is just the coolest thing. And like I said, design teams are using it a lot, which is, I just think, massively impressive. VR, again, massive. VR is really important. Again, going back to the safety side, a lot of people who are, if training, if they're wanting to get experience as to what's it like operating these machines, what it can basically do is, rather than having to sort of get into a physical machine, a 50-ton excavator, which is a massive machine, it's incredibly dangerous, especially if you haven't operated or trained. And so using VR is incredible, because effectively you're operating that on a screen. You can't injure people because you're doing it digitally. So that's, again, massively important. And I think all of this comes in, and what we're sort of looking at the moment is really looking at how this AR VR can really, again, improve the buying cycle, because it's giving that extra sort of leverage of what, why would people like these machines, what would work for them. So yeah.
Yeah, no, interesting. And that's, all these initiatives are kind of in an industry, stay ahead of the curve, kind of build that authority and that positioning of, by leveraging cutting edge technology to stay ahead of competitors.
Absolutely. Yes. Completely.
And Fred, help me understand that any businesses going through a transition from offline to online, and even businesses going through a transition within online digital space from one channel to other, there's always hesitation, and there's always a question that how much they should look at this investment as a long-term success versus a short-term win.
Absolutely.
How do you see you're able to manage the expectation of an audience you deal with day in, day out, to balance out their quick wins while still they are investing for the long-term success? Because we'd love to know what's your strategy behind that.
Yeah, absolutely. And this, especially if you're bringing on sort of businesses from scratch almost, which are sort of offline and sort of done the traditional over the phone word of mouth thing. If you're bringing them on digitally, it's all about having a good firm strategy in terms of what's most important, what's your goal, how do you want to achieve it. And so having a sort of a firm strategy in place, making your business from offline to online, it's not a quick fix. It's not just overnight we'll switch it over and do that. It takes a lot of work, and there is investment there is investment which is required for it, but you are futurizing your business. And so having that strategy in place, and also one of sort of the key things which I actually have communications on daily with customers is there's not an end point. So there's not a point where you build a website and that's it, you're done. That's not how it works. It works of, you build a website and then you look at the steps behind it in terms of advertising, SEO, general lead generation, how it can benefit your sales teams, and use it as a piece of tech to leverage your business. Common sort of mistake which occurs a lot is a business will build a website and then do nothing with it and almost expect it just to work. It just doesn't work like that. You've really got to use your digital strategies behind it and enhance your sort of teams with it, bringing in that revenue team in terms of digital and sales working together. The way I see it, businesses will pay for sales teams, and sales teams have salaries. Obviously, digital's the same. Digital should be looked at the same. It should also be looked at making them better. You train your sales teams. Your same thing must happen with digital. You must keep building in digital.
Interesting. Great. Any piece of advice or your 2 cents on your vision about how industry would be, let's say, 5 years down the line? Like, how do you see the overall landscape? If we try visualizing what could be the idealistic end state 5 years down the line when it comes to digital and machinery and construction space?
Yeah, I would say purchasing process, make your purchasing process easy. Going back to you sell machines, machines also have spare parts. Being able to buy those genuine parts online is incredibly important. It means your customer, 99% of the time, or 90% of the time, your customer will they'll be so busy in the day they won't really have time to pick up the phone and speak to you. So the time which they can actually think about what they actually require is actually in the evenings. There might be 9 o'clock at night when they go, oh, I need a rubber track for my mini excavator. So having the ability for their team, them to buy those rubber tracks online, incredibly important. So e-commerce, massive on for spare parts and things like that. Service bookings. So we've actually just built this piece of tech which basically does exactly what it says on the tin, and people can book their services online. And so the way we've built it for machinery dealerships, in the fact that, again, what happens is the customers might not have time to call dealerships during the day. So what this piece of software gives them is the ability to book their service 24/7, have a full interactive diary with the businesses, sort of engineers, so they can select specific times and sort of when the engineers can turn up on site, service their machines. And so it's giving that sort of all around digital transaction process. So reserving machines online, buying parts online, booking services online, giving them both options of on the phone during the day, online 24/7. It's giving both options and working together with that.
Amazing. Great, Fred. That's all I have. Amazing insight and intel. And I'm sure a lot of good learning, or a lot of good pointers to keep into consideration for anyone from machinery, construction, environmental space who's trying to empower their businesses with the digital channels. Great to have you. Anything else towards concluding this interaction you want to add?
No, I just think thanks very much for having me on. It's been great, and it's I'm so passionate about this industry. It's really, I think one more thing is to businesses who are wanting to digitize is make sure your digital teams understand where you're wanting to go and understand your business. It's part of the digital process of actually making that your business better online is the agency must understand your industry. They must understand your business. So, for example, we wouldn't go out and if someone came to us, looking for a fashion website, we actually wouldn't go, and we would say no, because our expertise do not lie there, and so we wouldn't be able to give what expertise we have within that. So we would probably say go elsewhere. So I think my biggest piece of advice is go somewhere with people who understand your industry, understand your business, understand your goals.
No, very true. And especially in today's competitive world, unless you don't build that authority, unless you don't build that in-depth positioning, kind of showcasing your expertise, being the thought leader in your space, and for any brand to be a thought leader or on the journey to become a thought leader, it's important to work with an agency who understand their domain, understand their business well. Otherwise, that journey can be a little bit crooked, and you never know if you can make most out of your investment or not.
Absolutely, and like we sort of said, the digital investment it's not sort of a quick fix, and it needs work. So understanding your industry and your business is so important.
Yeah. No, great, Fred. Really appreciate your time, and thanks for having you today. We really appreciate your contribution.
No, thank you. Thank you very much.
Right.